Well, I was born at Sabi, as I said, in 1935. The Church of the Nazarene started there in 1919. Now, my aunt, brother to my wife, my father, attended the church there in the early 20s, Church of the Nazarene. And it was through her connection with the Church of the Nazarene way back there in those years that resulted in me today being in the Church of the Nazarene.
Wow. Wow.
Now, my parents, my father and mother, they were not attending church. And then it so happened that my father, I don't know what happened, they quarreled with my mother and then he left, he disappeared. That was in the early 1940s. We remained with my mother. And then a few years, I might say so, she died. My father being gone and my mother dead now, me and my two brothers and my sister, we didn't have a home. So we're taken by relatives. My mother's relatives, we lived with them for a short time. And then in 1943, my aunt, as I told you, who was attending the Church of the Nazarene in the 1920s, when the missionaries worked there at Savi. They started a school, she went to school there, and then she was associating herself with the Church of the Nazarene and with the missionaries. And they went to Swaziland to a school there near Pikes Peak, where they continued their education. And also the young men who got converted at Sabi, they went to Swaziland. Some of them were called to preach, so they went to train as ministers. It so happened that my aunt got married to one of these young men who was also studying there in Swaziland, studying for the ministry. His name was Nkabela.
Yes.
And then in the early 1930s, they came back to pastor at Sabi, and then they pastored a few months there, and then came to pastor around this area here called Zukdok, not very far from here. They pastored there. And then they took my grandmother,
Yes.
mother to my father. He didn't have anywhere to stay, so he came in to live with his son-in-law Mkabela and also with a daughter. Then they moved from here in 1943. They moved to a place now, it was then called Bethel. When you're at Hazy View, coming this way, you cross the bridge, then there's a road on the left going up. It's going up to the mountains there. That road led to a place where there was a church called Bethel. We call that place Richmond today. And then they were pastoring there. As I told you now, we're living with my mother's relatives there. And then they took us to come and live with them. That was in 1943. 1943, coming to that place there where my aunt's husband was pastoring a church, also a teacher. We came there now. That's our first contact with the Church of the Nazarene, 1943. That's me and my two younger brothers. That's where I started going to church, Sunday school and church, and then also started to go to school. Our school there, it was, see, the Atha City, the church at Atha City.
Yes.
Have you been there?
Yes.
You know your father attended
Yes.
training there.
Yes. Yes.
Also in 1935, as I told you, the church started at Sabi,
Yes.
but it moved down here to this Lowveld area. and they came and established that place called Athasit there.
Okay.
The reason they moved away from some, that's the little history I was trying to tell you when we went in Bombela, and then of
Yes,
course I was
thank
stopped.
you.
I didn't finish that history there. The reason we moved from, as a church, we moved from Sabi coming down to the Lowveld is because, as it were gold mines there.
Yes.
The first Nazarenes who repented there at Sabi were people who were working in the mines. But the mines closed because they found gold in the Free State,
Okay.
which was much better than gold. So they closed the mines. And one of the reasons they moved people from there, you saw when you come here, there are a lot of this plantation, these trees.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then because of this frustration, then they moved people to coming down here. But then I went and stayed there, studied lower grades of that school.
Okay.
And then finishing the grades there, that's grade, we used to call them standards in those days, standard 4. Then to further education, you had to come to the main station at Athasit. I came here at Athasit in 1952 to continue with my education. I stayed here until I finished what was called Form 1. And then I moved from here to Swaziland. Have you been to Swaziland, I'm sure?
Yes.
I moved to Swaziland at Manzini there
Yes.
in 1955 to continue with my high school education. 55, I finished what was then called JC, this is called Junior Certificate.
Oh, yes, yes.
And then that was in 1955. And up to that time, God had already called me to the ministry. In fact, he called me when I was still around down here. And in 1954, while I was still attending school here, I pastored the church.
Wow.
I was a lay pastor,
Yes.
and then preparing myself for the ministry. And then when I finished my high school education at Manzini in 1955, then 56, I went to Siteki. You've been to Siteki in Swaziland?
You've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, Siteki is where there was a Bible college. It's still there. That was the only Bible college for all of us here in South Africa. We used to go and train there in Swaziland. So I went there in 1956 to train. I was there 4 years. Now, when I was in Swaziland, at Manzini, when I was doing my JC, there was a lady there. Her name was Ruth. She was also finishing a teacher's training. Our college was very close to the place where they were attending. And that was 1955. 56, when I went to Stegi, she also graduated from her teacher's training. She went back home. Home was also Stegi, where I was going to study theology. I was there, as I told you, from 56, 57, 58. And then it so happened that my seeing her from Manzini and also seeing her at Sitegi, it culminated in us getting married. We got married in 1960. I finished my training there in 1960. Then we married in December of 1960. Together we came back into the public here. And we pastored the church at the same place where I started attending church at Richmond. Pastored there for 2 years. That is 1961, 62. And then 1963 I went to Malawi. Because earlier, as I was telling you that in 1954 I was lay pastoring a church while I was in school. I felt a call from God that I should go and work in Central Africa. In fact, during those years, there was no church there in Central Africa. Central Africa, I mean the country of Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. But I felt, the reason I felt called to go to that place, in 1954, when I was still there at Arthur Seat, there was a teacher who came from Zimbabwe, was teaching us here. His name was Boo. And when I was pastoring a church in 1955, on weekends I used to cycle down to Edinburgh. There was a time when I went with him, this teacher. And also when our missionaries were telling us about the work in Zambia, Malawi and Zimbabwe, that the Church of the Nazarene, we needed to go and open work there. Somehow I felt God touching me and telling me that I must go to Central Africa. So in 1963, we went to Malawi. After pastoring 2 years in South Africa, we went to Malawi. We were there in Malawi, 63, 64. This is my daughter here. Her name is Carol. They were twins. They were born there when we were in Malawi in 1964. And then after working there for 2 years, we transferred to Zimbabwe. There was no church in Zimbabwe. And then I was the first pastor of the Church of the Nazarene in Zimbabwe. When they in 1964. And we worked in Zimbabwe 65, 66, and 67. Then in 1968 we came back to South Africa. We went to Arthur Seat to teach there at the Bible College. We were there for 21 years. That's where our father and mother came during these years when we were there. 21 years. And then in 1989, we returned back to Zimbabwe. We worked there 89, 90, 91, 92, middle of 92. We went back to Malawi. We worked there in Malawi in 92, the remaining part of 92, 93, and then 94. And 92 we went back to Malawi and then worked there until the end of 94. Then from there we went to NTC. That was in 1995. We were there 95 until 2001. We left the Bible College. We were retiring. Then 2001, you know Dr. Half, we had Dr. Half. Dr. Half has replaced Dr. Zena, he was the regional director. So he asked me to, when I left the college, he asked me to work with him as an assistant to him. I was there for 4 years, up to 2005. Then 2006 we retired and came back here with my wife. Of course, she passed away in 2010. I'm still here. I'm living with my daughter here.
So when you were at Malawi for the first time, and also at Zim for the first time, there were no Nazarene churches there. So you had to plant, or you had to start the church?
In Malawi, the church started in 1997. 1997. In fact, one of the missionaries who worked there, started the church, was Morris Hall. When I was at the college in Zimbabwe, in Steg in Swaziland, there was a group of Malawians who were also attending college there at Stegi. So this missionary, who was supposed to go and start work in Malawi, came and spent some time there at Siteki to learn the Chichewa language. It was called then Nyanja. Learned Chichewa language from the Malawians who were at the Bible College there. In 1957, they went there to start the work in Malawi. You know, I was still at Bible College, and as I told you, I had felt a call to go to Central Africa in 1994. So when I finished college, I came here and passed out 2 years, I said, and then 1963, we were bound to Malawi. So the work started in 1957 in Malawi. Some of them are gone now. Yes, I mean, the missionary started the church there.
Yes.
There was no church of the Nazarene.
Yes.
It started by the missionaries, and some of those Malawians I told you were at the college. When they finished their work, they returned back to their country to work with the missionaries to do the work.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And some of them got converted there and joined the church.
Yes.
We opened a Bible college there.
Okay.
And then we trained some people. When I was there in 1960, that's the first time I started working in Bible college. I've been teaching 1963 until today. I'm still teaching, training ministers.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't work in Swaziland. I was a student there in Swaziland.
Yes.
And of course, I became a son-in-law there in Swaziland. So I didn't work in Swaziland. I was just there as a student. Whatever I did there in Swaziland, in way of preaching, teaching, whatever, I did as a student. Yeah, I worked in South Africa. I worked in South Africa and also worked in Malawi twice, Zimbabwe twice. And when I was in Zimbabwe, of course, I had time to minister also in Zambia, because some of the students came from Zambia. And there was a time when I worked there as a mission director. Mission director for Malawi. Actually, no, for Zimbabwe. And when I worked as in Zimbabwe, that is the second time now, not the first time, the second time I went there. We had the Bible college in Zimbabwe, Bible college in Zambia, and a Bible college in Malawi, 3 Bible colleges. Time came when the church felt that we need to measure these colleges. Like for instance, in South Africa here, we also had several Bible colleges, remember that? We had LSM, that is Upper Seat, for the black people. We had one in Johannesburg for the white people, and we had one in Port Elizabeth for Indians and coloureds during the days of apartheid. But time came in the early 90s when there was the reforms in South Africa here, that we were able to measure our colleges. So we closed our Bible college here at Upper Seat and the one at PE. By the way, before that we also had one at Manzimtoti. So there are 2 black Bible colleges in South Africa. One for whites in Joburg and one for Cadian Indians. But as you know, we merged them all together. So there was a time when colleges were merging. Also in Central Africa, the 3 Bible colleges in Zimbabwe, Zambia and Malawi, we merged them. That's the reason we moved from Zimbabwe in 1992 to Malawi in the Longwe. What happened was, I was in charge of the Bible college in Zimbabwe. I was the principal there. So we merged our colleges. First of all, the Zambian college merged with the Zimbabwe. The students from Zambia, they came to Harare. And then in 1992, we moved our college from Zimbabwe to Lilongwe, where it is today. So my students came from these 3 countries, from Zimbabwe and Zambia and Malawi. Well, I told you that I moved back to South Africa from Malawi.
Yes.
Let me start from Malawi. That's why I started teaching Bible college.
Okay.
I wasn't the principal. I was just a teacher, a lecturer at the college. And then when we moved to South Africa in 1968, I also became a teacher at the school there, LSM Nazarene Bible College. I was just a teacher. I worked with Reverend Dayhoff. Remember Dayhoff?
Yes.
Yeah, Dayhoff. And then after Dayhoff came Dr. Esselstyn. Remember him? You don't remember him? Dr. Ted Esselstyn. So I came there, I worked as a teacher. And then Esselstyn was the principal of the school. Then in 1975, he left. Actually 74 he left. He went to the NTC in Florida there to be the principal of the school there for the whites. So I became principal here when he left in 1975. I was there as principal until 1989. 1989. Then I went back to Zimbabwe when the colleges here merged. That is LSM, that is the one at Afasit, Manzimtoti, and NTC in Joburg, and also the one at Portalabek. When they merged together in 1990. I didn't go there, I went to Zimbabwe. I became a principal of the college, in charge of the college there in Zimbabwe. And then, as I said, we merged our colleges, they moved to Longwe. I was also principal there in the Longwe. And then in what was the year? I'm forgetting the year. We moved to NTC. When Dr. Catherine left to be the rector of the college at NTC. I'm trying to remember the year. I'm old now. You see, I'm old now. I'm not doing very well with the numbers. That was in 1995. 1995. I went to NTC. I was the rector of the college. And then it was during the years when the government was coming in now and taking charge of the colleges as it is now. They changed the name rector. They returned back to the word principal. That's why today they're called principal. Yeah. The students?
Yes.
Well, I've got so many of my graduates. Many of them. Many of them. Yes, there are so many. Here in South Africa,
Yes.
Some in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and also in Malawi. Yes. Many of them. You mentioned them, I'll tell you some of those you know.
Like Maluleka, Mashangu.
Mashangu, yes, was my student. Even Jambo, General Superintendent.
Okay.
Yeah, did you see there? Yes. General Superintendent.
Yes.
Several, what do they call them? Directors. This is, they used to call them field directors. They call them field strategy coordinators.
Yes.
Yes, and several DSs.
Yes.
Yes.
Like Elliot, maybe.
No, I didn't teach Elliot.
Okay.
Elliot came from PE.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Elliot came from PE.
Yes.
But several of, like Ushe.
Yes.
Ushe, he was my student in Zimbabwe, in Harare. Ushe, yes. Yeah. Several of the GS, some of them are retired, like Chabalala. You don't know Chabalala. Some have gone to heaven. That's true. Yes. It's so fulfilling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Let me tell you something. Maybe I shouldn't tell people this, but I had some problem at NTC. Very serious problem. Very serious problem in 1995. students were toy. We call it student unrest. Just when I came from Malawi, and then I came there was some problem there. Really problem with the students. One thing I've noticed with all of the colleges I've gone to answer your question, you know some troublesome people there. One thing I thank God for is some of these people who were troublesome at the college, today they turned around, they're doing well. And I thank God for that. Even today when I see them, I say, yeah, this man here, but he was so like this.
Yeah.
But with Jambo, you've just mentioned Jambo.
Yeah.
Jambo never gave us any problems.
No.
During that time of unrest, he never did. He came from Mozambique, by the way, you know that? Yeah, he came from Mozambique. He never gave us any problem. He was just a good man. So even today when he's general, I'm not surprised because I saw him during the time of unrest there, how he behaved himself when he was at the college. I don't have any problem with him. During that time there, he was just good. Yeah. You know, some of these people, you see them today in high position of leadership. And then you remember the time when they were giving trouble at the college. Then you still have some question mark. You thank God that today this man is good, but when you look back, yeah. But as I tell you, with Jambo it's just green light, right from the time of college. Yeah.
Yeah. And Raf Mukebe is also...
I taught him too.
Oh, yes.
I taught him Mukebe 19... I told you that we left Zimbabwe and came back to Upper City in 1968. I found him there, he was my student. I taught him there, Mukebe, and also his wife. Yeah, I did.
And what about Mahlaba?
Yes, I taught Mahlaba too.
Oh,
Mahlaba
okay.
came. Yeah, I taught Mahlaba, and they were together with Mutlapuji, you know Mutlapuji?
Yes.
He taught Mutlapuji and his wife Betty.
Wow.
Yes, those were my students.
Yes. And Mudau from...
Yes, Mudau too, and his former wife.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
Sure.
And was there anything special about it?
In fact, Mudau, I think Mudau and his wife, we used to go around recruiting. That is when Mudau felt called to come to college. Yes, I did. Those are my students, Mudau. Yes. The highlight of my ministry during those days was when we went out as a college, visiting district assemblies, visiting district activities when we were recruiting students. I think that was my highlight. When we went out and motivating people to say yes to God's call. That was a great time we did as we went around. And people responded. They came to college. I say it was a highlight. I remember that. But it was a joy for me, together with my colleagues, to work there and teach the students and see them how they grow in Christian life.
College.
Well, I've already told you about the challenge we had at NTC. I've already told you about that. I wouldn't say some of those things were challenges. And I used to tell my students, that the Bible college is not heaven. I used to tell them that Bible college is not heaven. In fact, I told them that it is in Bible college that you really see the devil working very hard. Yes. I reminded them of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ ran a Bible college with his 12 students. For 3 years he taught them. Satan was also there. Remember when Jesus Christ with his students, they were having the Holy Communion. Satan was there. Remember when he came to Peter, and Jesus Christ had to rebuke Peter, "Get out of me, you devil, you Satan."
Yes.
Okay, I said, yes, we're in Bible college here, but the devil is also here. So some of the challenges, you would see some of the students, they do some very, very strange things here. And we just had to expel some of them from the college. I remember expelling some of the college, as I said, because the devil was also there working. Yes. But God was also working. We had some time of preaching, revivals. We used to open our semester with a Bible college revival, and God would come and work. I can tell you some of the things that happened during those revivals. Students confessing their sins. Very, very serious sins. We're talking about very serious things. Things that happened at the college there. Yeah. Very, very serious. Like immorality involving students. But through the word of God, people confessing. I remember one student, Zulu, I'm sure he's still alive today, at a revival at the college. He prayed and he confessed. He used to work at Nelspruit, the wholesalers, and he stole some things from the wholesalers. And he confessed at the college. He came to the college, God called him, but with this sin. Then he confessed. And when he confessed, the following Monday, our revival used to end up during the weekend. I took him to the owner of that wholesalers because he felt that he should do some restitution. So I took him to Nelspruit at Mbombela. You see, Mbombela was an African township, like a place where they stayed, near the railway station there at Nelspruit, where the black people were living, and they call that place Mbombela. Mbombela was steamer, that means the train. They stayed there. Now they removed them. They removed all the blacks to Likazi. Just like what happened at White River. At White River, the blacks used to stay very close to town, in town. They moved them to Ngodini there. So I took him to his home. His mother was there. And then he stole some pots and dishes, spoons from that wholesalers and some other things. So he went there and told his mother, "Mom, I want all the pots I stole from the wholesalers, get them together. I want to take them back to the man who owns the wholesalers there." And some of the pots were already old and some they were not in good condition. So the mom there took the pots, they were black with smoke, and then he washed them, she scrubbed them. We fill a big bag like this, a sack. We carried them to that wholesalers. I went with him. I had my old New Testament, I think I still have it here. I opened a verse there. I only arrived there, I said to the people, "I want to see the owner of this place." "Why do you want to see him?" I said, "Please, I want to see him. I want to see the manager." They called him, and when they called him, he came to us. I read that verse in Matthew chapter 5, where it says, when you bring your gift to the altar there, and you remember that there's something, you must leave your gift there, go and fix this. I read that verse, that owner. I said, "I'm here. This man used to work for you here. He stole something from you here." And he has repented. We were praying there. He was praying at the altar. And then went back home. Here are the things he stole from you. A sack full of pots. The man said to us, this man, I remember his name was Chris. He said, "I cannot fix a wrong with another wrong." Then he said to him, "Take these pots, all these things with you. Go back to where you are. Go to a place where you see some very poor people and give them these things to them.
Wow.
This is what he said. He forgave him.
Wow. Praise the Lord.
I also remember one. He came from your place there.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot his name. He came from your place there. He was at the college there. He also repented at those revivals. You know what his sin was? He came to college. He had a field of dacha in the mountains there while he was in the college there. So he confessed. Confessed that I'm here. God has called me, but I have a big field up in the mountains there of dacha. Now, you remember Smelzenbach?
Yes.
You remember the name Smelzenbach? Yeah, he was the missionary there in Petersburg. So what we did, we handed him over to Smelzenbach. He took him to the police to go and confess to the police that he had a big field of dacha up in the mountains there. And then Reverend Smelzenbach, he took him, he told the police, the police also forgave him. He came back and continued his work. So these were some of the highlights.
Wow.
To tell you about some things happened, good things and bad things,
Yes.
some of the things revealed by God.
Yes.
Yeah, and as I told you, we had to expel some of the students who did some wrong there.
Exactly.
But I'm glad that several of them did very well
Yes.
and finished their courses, and some are still in the church or were in the church. God has used them.
Yes.
Yep. There are some of my experiences in these colleges.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't get my PhD. It's not a PhD. I don't have a PhD. In 1985, as a General Assembly in America, in California, Anaheim. I had an opportunity of going there. In fact, some laymen paid my way there. And then I was going to General Assembly. And then a friend of ours, a former missionary, paid for my wife. So we both went to attend that General Assembly in California, Anaheim, in America. And then while we were there, in fact, because we were going to General Assembly, then Dr. Esselstyn, I was working with him, he was my principal there. He said, since you are going to General Assembly, go and spend 1 year there and do your masters at one of your colleges there. So I went to General Assembly. After General Assembly, I remained there at Oklahoma. It was Bethany Nazarene College. But when I was there at Bethany Nazarene College, our principal was, they called them presidents there, was Ponta Gilliland. Ponta Gilliland changed the name of the college. It was the time during the, you see in America, they didn't use the word university. They were using colleges. But during the 90s, they were changing now. These colleges were now calling them universities. So several of our institutions in North America now, they are called universities. But it was their custom in North America to call these big colleges, which is called university, colleges. So he changed it from Bethany Nazarene College. I still have a skipper here, Bethany Nazarene College. He changed it to SNU, Southern Nazarene University. It changed when I was there. From Nazarene, Bethany Nazarene College, it is in a suburb of Oklahoma called Bethany. So they changed it to Southern Nazarene College.
Wow.
I did my master's there.
Okay.
Yeah, in religion. Then, in 1998, they gave me an honorary degree.
Wow.
It is not a PhD. It's an honorary degree. The same college called me back to America, and they conferred on me this honorary degree, Doctor of Divinity.
Wow.
Yeah, not PhD.
Yes.
Yeah, It's an honorary degree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, wow.
You have to, what I've done for
Yeah.
the church is true, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Wow.